With more and more opportunities to become an entrepreneur and a low barrier of entry into online business, it can be a struggle to figure out the right time to leave your 9-to-5 job.
So in today's episode, we're going to chat about some of the things that you can do to prepare yourself and then some of the milestones that you should look to hit before you hand in that resignation letter.
Are you frustrated by a lack of momentum in your business? Tired of putting in long hours doing what everyone says you should and still not making money? Sounds like you're ready for Lifestyle Builders. We'll help you get back on track, taking action, and seeing results. Head over to joinlifestylebuilders.com today to get started. Okay, so let's talk about this one because right now, well, and not just right now, but a lot of times you see this sexy concept out there of building your plane on the way down, this mentality that you should just quit your job and you'll figure it out.
Burn the boats.
Where did that come from? I thought it was burn the bridges. Where is burn the boats from? Didn't someone call you out on that? It was like a Viking thing.
What? Burn the boats is when a military, like an army, would go to an island and the commander would burn the boats so that they couldn't retreat and they had to go and win.
Okay. All right.
I didn't just make that up.
I didn't think you made it up completely. I just never heard of it before in reference to leaving your job.
Maybe you should get
I
educated.
thought that was burn the bridges.
Well, that's a different thing. But anyways,
educated.
But anyways, and so by the way, I did a Facebook post on this.
You did.
Talking just about it. And it's funny, whenever we talk about this, it gets people all riled up. And so
they're either vehemently opposed or in 100% agreement.
Well, and here's the thing. So we'll put a post or a link to that post on the show notes at tomandariana.com/122. But essentially what this comes down to is that we are like in love with the story of this entrepreneur that against all odds left college and they had no money, was on their last dollar, and they made it. And, you know, you hear like the Steve Jobs and the Elon Musks, and people will spout these examples and be like, this is why you need to do it. But what you don't hear is all of the other people that tried to do that.
Thousands upon tens of thousands.
And it didn't work. And they not only lost a bunch of money, they spent a bunch of time and it didn't work. They got demoralized because it didn't work. They potentially put themselves at risk or their family at risk.
They may have lost their relationship with their spouse or their kids.
Yeah, because they bought into this fantasy that entrepreneurs are risky, and in order to prove that you're an entrepreneur, you have to go all in and take on all this risk. And it's totally wrong.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is really successful entrepreneurs are constantly mitigating risk. They're trying to say, yes, I'm going to step into this unknown, but I'm going to do it in the smartest way possible so that I give myself as many options or chances to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that just like throw everything away and go all in, yes, in some cases it can work. In many more cases, it doesn't.
Well, let's talk about the people that are saying like, well, I did that. I quit my job and then I went and I built my business. A lot of times they're not telling you some of these
the whole story.
Little important pieces of the story that, one, they're single. They did not have a significant other or any kids that they're responsible for. They also probably didn't tell you that they had a very large savings that they had built up to, again, mitigate risk.
And they were living in their parents' basement, so they didn't pay rent.
I say that part. A lot of them are not living in their parents' basement, but maybe they're living in a very small apartment
but
somewhere.
You might. I mean, exactly to your point, everyone's situation is different.
Yep.
And like, especially like at our point where we had kids. We had a bunch of debt because we both went to college and came out with like, I don't know, what, 80,000 student loans, whatever it was.
It was a lot. And we bought a house.
And
so
yeah, we bought a
mortgage
house
to pay.
You know, so we had basically what it comes down to is the least responsibilities you have, the more you can do those things.
Yes.
You know,
or there's less risk.
Yeah. Or the more you've built up. So like, for example, if you have a whole bunch of savings and your expenses aren't that high, that's a lot less risk than if you have a whole bunch of debt and you're living paycheck to paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so to your point, when you see those stories or when somebody comes and brags and says that's how they did it, what you want to do is understand the full picture and understand, is that the same situation
Look for
that
the
you're
pieces
in?
they aren't telling.
Or is that completely different?
Yeah. Because everyone wants a good story. They all want to make a good story because that's what sells.
Mm-hmm.
The sexiness, the riskiness, the against all odds, I did this thing and I came out successful. We're not taking away from the fact that those people have accomplished great things because
Absolutely.
they have. But the parts of their story that they're telling you are what's convenient for them to tell you because they want you to buy into their story for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
All of those people are selling something.
A lot of those people that tell
and they
that
want
story
you to buy that something. So they're telling you the parts of the story that are making you going to mentally buy into their story and therefore be a better chance of purchasing whatever it is that they're buying.
That's a really good point. You want to understand the motives.
Yes.
And this doesn't just apply to this, but anytime someone tells you something, you want to understand the motives. Where are they coming from? And then why are they telling you this?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, so, I mean, we tell people what it really is like. And
why do we do that?
Our motives are because we didn't get that in a lot of cases, and we truly want to help you guys.
Yeah, we want to help you mitigate the risks because it's scary and you have to go through so many challenges already as an entrepreneur. Why add on those extra ones, especially the financial challenges?
Yeah, well, and when you have financial challenges on you, it skews all of your decision making. You might take a business deal that you wouldn't have normally taken, but you're like, how am I going to pay my rent this month?
Mm-hmm.
Or you might, when you're trying to make a sale, you're so caught up on, if you don't make this sale, you're not going to be able to put food on the table, that you don't show up and serve that potential customer with confidence, and they pick up on that and they don't buy from you.
Yeah.
So like there's this, we were talking about this recently. There's this thing, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And basically, like, I learned about this in grad school.
We will do an entire episode about this
we definitely should
to buy into Tom's love of this thing.
But so long story short, Maslow was like a psychologist, and he put this theory together that is basically like a pyramid, and it says you've got to satisfy your needs at a lower level before you can go to the higher level. And at the lowest level, it was like what you need to live, like your physiology.
Safety.
Well, no, at this level, it was just air.
Oh, I'm skipping ahead. That's the next one.
It was just air and food and shelter. And then as you go up to the next level, then it gets into like safety. And as you move up, and safety is a key thing. So as you're looking to leave a job, you want to have safety so that you can build on that strong foundation. And what a lot of people do is they actually take safety away, and then it makes everything else more difficult to do.
Yep.
So yes, we'll do an entire episode on that. but the takeaway was you want to have that safety. And we actually did an episode on the 7 mistakes that you want to avoid when you start a business.
Yep.
And so I think that was show 19.
Yeah, it was an early one.
Yeah. So tomandariana.com/19, and that'll give you some of those common mistakes to avoid as you're starting your business.
And one of them was leaving your job before your business is making enough to replace your income. Because that is something where, you might have an opportunity come up and you might think that that's the only opportunity you're going to get. So you've got to go all in, you got to quit your job, and you got to put all your cards on the table to make this opportunity work for you. But in reality, what we see happen a lot with entrepreneurs is that they jump out of their jobs before their business is ready and before their business has a stable model and consistent income. And they end up struggling with the roller coaster of ups and downs financially to the point where they end up having to go back and get a job because their business is not consistently making them enough income for their personal lives to be functional.
Yep.
So, you've got a solopreneur out there running a business. Maybe their spouse supports it. Maybe they don't. Either way, their spouse has expectations around what that business is going to do for their personal life. And if you are constantly unable to meet the financial expectations for your personal life that you need, that starts to affect you in a lot of important ways. Like, you don't want to be arguing with your spouse about money constantly. A lot of us are already doing that and we have jobs. So to add the pressure of you being responsible for that income with your business adds more on. You don't want to have to be constantly worrying about if you can put food on the table for your kids or, buy them the clothes they need.
Well, and there's expenses you have too when you leave a job that most people don't realize, like health insurance.
Yes.
That's a huge one. I mean, when I left my job to do Cobra, which was like your continuing insurance where you could basically keep the same insurance, but you're paying the full premium because usually your employer is paying a portion and you're paying a portion. It was like $2,000 a month.
It was ridiculously expensive.
So for a family of 4, it was $24,000 a year just for our health insurance. And so these are the costs that a lot of people don't realize that very quickly can, one, even if you have savings, can eat that up. But two, however much money you think you're going to make and how fast you think you're going to make it, it's probably not as much and it's probably a lot longer. So it's very easy for people to put projections out there. And I'm a fan of projections. They give you an idea, but what you want to be doing is proving that out and understanding how real those are before you just take the risk and leave.
Well, and I think, a lot of this allure of entrepreneurship hits on people who hate their job.
Yes.
They very much are not happy with where they're at. They don't like their boss. They don't like their hours. They don't like what they have to do, whatever it is. Hating your job does not automatically mean you should start your own business.
And in most cases, it
will be worse than your job.
Yeah.
Just going to put that out there. So what we want you to think about too is maybe you want to start a business. Maybe you also hate your job. Those two things do not have to be connected, but don't quit your job and not go find another one just because you think business is going to solve all your needs. What you may be better off doing is looking for a better job. It maybe doesn't have to pay you more, but you can enjoy it more. That sets you up financially and you're stable. Then you can worry about how you're going to start your business and what you're going to do in your business.
Well, I was going to say, and let's use me as an example. So I set the goal to retire by 35. And my original plan was I'm going to work one job until I retire. I'm going to build these businesses on the side. And then when it works, I'll end up leaving. So I got about 8 years into that job and basically a lot of politics and stuff behind it. But
you started to very much dislike your job.
Absolutely. And so I got to a point where I was burnt out with a job, didn't want to work there anymore. And I contemplated quitting. We had 2 businesses at that time.
One
kid.
Had
just started the second business. So it, wasn't making us money yet. So it could have been very easy for me at that point to say, I'm quitting my job and we're just going all in on the business. Now, what I did instead was took another job that, 1, actually paid more money. 2, actually gave me a lot of skills that then would help us with our business. But on the downside, actually caused me to travel 4 or 5 days a week.
Yes.
So I spent several years traveling as a business consultant, which was really good on the one hand because it gave us money to be able to help get us in a better position. It then also gave me a lot of skills that I now use not only in our businesses, but helping with others. And on the downside, it wasn't perfect because it then caused challenges with me not being home a lot.
Yep.
But that was a short-term sacrifice that then set us up for everything that we do and have now. Whereas I know if I would have left at that point, I would have been back to a job and I would have been looking for a job out of desperation.
Yes.
Rather than finding a job that did fit some of what I needed and help bridge the gap before I left.
Yeah. And I mean, I know that this is a hot topic in the online entrepreneur industry. Everyone wants to hate on jobs and hate on the 9-to-5. We're bucking the traditions and we're bucking 9-to-5s and we're going to be our own bosses. That's all true and amazing and it's great. But the truth is your job can give you opportunities as an entrepreneur. Tom just talked about a major one. Skills. Your job can actually teach you skills that are essential when you're building your business. You might even have those skills paid for
Well, I was gonna say,
by your job. You went back and got your master's
most of
degree.
my master's, which was in business management and leadership, most of that was paid for by the company I was working with.
Yes.
And another point, as you say that, I want you guys to think about this. If you're out there and saying jobs are terrible and you shouldn't be an employee, what do you think is going to happen when you're building a business and you need to hire people as employees? You've got this negative thing around being an employee, yet you're going to hire people in for that. What you want to be thinking about is more so, what is it that you want to be doing and how you want to be having your livelihood and what makes the most sense? Like, I've actually seen a lot of people that were a lot more successful. They were struggling on their own, and then they actually went and worked for maybe an entrepreneurial company. And they were more successful. Like, so actually one example is Brandon Turner from Bigger Pockets. So that was actually the very first podcast I was on. Bigger Pockets. It's a real estate show. And Brandon had his own, he was investing in real estate. He had his own blog, and it wasn't really doing that well. And so he went to work for this small real estate startup, ended up co-hosting the podcast. And as a result of that, he was able to build his platform. So not only was he investing in real estate, he now had this show. Since then, he's written like 4 different books.
Wrote a bunch of books.
And he's gotten so many more opportunities because rather than trying to do it himself, he was part of an entrepreneurial company that aligned very well with what he was doing. So it's not about being an employee or being an entrepreneur. It's about doing the right things at the right time that help you achieve your goals.
I'm going to be honest with you. There's been a couple times where I've contemplated going back to a job simply because it is easier to be an employee than it is to be an entrepreneur. I mean, you have somebody there telling you exactly what to do and giving you the deadlines for it and giving you the skills. And if you don't have the skills, they go and say, okay, well, here's this thing, you learn about it, or here's how you do it, teaching you what to do. And at the end of the day, you're not responsible for yourself. Somebody else is responsible for you, and they're the ones cutting your check. So, I mean, being an employee is not a bad thing. A lot of us are not necessarily trying to escape being an employee. We're trying to escape the restrictions that come with being an employee. Well, the fact that you have to be somewhere at a certain time every day and you're accountable to your boss and what they tell you need to do, and you don't have the freedom in your life to be able to do the things that you want with your family, your friends, whatever.
And a lot of that is just a bad boss or a bad company.
Yeah.
So just because you have a bad boss or a bad company doesn't mean every other company is. There's plenty of companies, especially now, and this is only going to get bigger as the years go on. There's a lot more companies where you can work from home, either part-time or full-time.
Look at all the people that love working for Google.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of really good bosses that will support you. There's a lot of really good teams. Like, for example, when I was hiring people in, when I was part of a corporate company, one of the questions I would ask them is where they want to be in 5 years. And I was completely honest with them that I wasn't going to be at the company. I was going to be running my own companies. And through that honesty, they would tell me where they want to be. They want to go work for Google or, these other places because I was in tech. And ironically, a lot of these employees ended up not leaving and working for the other company. And when I asked them why, they said, it would be great to go and work for that company, but I wouldn't want to give up the team and the environment that I work in now because I enjoy it. So when it's not about, I hate my job, so I got to be an entrepreneur, to your point. It's about, I don't like this situation I'm in. Let me go figure out a better situation for me, one that lines up with my lifestyle and my goals. And let me do that while I build my business. And you might actually find that actually propels your business forward because it's giving you money, it's giving you skills. Like if you're working for an entrepreneurial company, you're learning from the entrepreneur, maybe the founder. And you might be able to then build off of that in a lot of cases. So I'd always recommend looking for that stepping stone rather than just leaving. If you don't like the job you're in, look for a job that will then help you with the business that you're trying to create.
Yeah. We sound like job lovers right now.
Well, actually, so I had one of my coaching clients, we just wrapped up a year of coaching, and at the end of it, she ended up going back and getting a job. And she actually went back to school before she did that. And she sent me an email yesterday, and she said, thank you so much. She's like, you were the one that basically told me it was okay to be an employee. And she's like, I'm still a lifestyle builder. And what I figured out was this is what's right for me right now.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, I'm still going to build my business on the side, but going back to school and having this job, I'm going to make more money than I ever have in my life. I have kids and I'm a single mother. I'm going to be able to take care of my kids and spend more time with them because I'm not spending all the time trying to figure out where money's going to come from and working all these hours. And so it was so good to hear her say that and come to that revelation, because lifestyle builders is about building your lifestyle.
Yep.
Now, yes, we talk about doing it with entrepreneurship because we think that's a really good path, but it doesn't mean that we're against employees or against doing those things you need to do while you're building your business.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. We've talked about so many good things and I have so many things in my brain, but I want to get to this next part because I think this is an important piece that a lot of people don't realize you can use to work around it. So one of the things that we talk about in Lifestyle Builders, in the framework, you're going to read it in the book, is your runway. So, that thing that we started off with, like build your plane on the way down, we talk about building yourself a long enough runway to build your plane before it takes off over the edge of the cliff.
Mm-hmm.
So what that means is, how can you figure out how to use the income you currently have, any savings you have, maybe your spouse is bringing in an income as well, and then the money that your business is making, how can you use all of those things to figure out, one, when is the right time for you to leave, and two, how much time does that give you to get your business going before it starts to put a financial strain on you? So I didn't give numbers because I was not going to attempt to tell you, like, if you make this much and then make this much. But what we can do is maybe throw a quick table up on the page, on the show notes page, to show you what that might look like. And that's tomandariana.com/122.
Well, and if we think about it, like we'll keep the numbers really simple here. Know that there's more to it.
Yes.
But let's say, for example, your monthly expenses are $5,000 and currently you're making $5,000. And let's say you have $50,000 in savings that you could potentially use to supplement your income.
That's a pretty good number.
Yeah. So in this case, assuming that like you didn't have any debt, what you could do is, if you left your job and now you're not making any money and your business isn't making any money, you've got 10 months that you could use your savings to pay your expenses. So your runway is 10 months. And that is the point where you're going to run out of money. And that's the amount of time you have to build your business up to where it'll then cover all your expenses.
Mm-hmm.
So now obviously there's more to it than this, because you have debt, and when your business starts making money, that'll offset
your spouse might be making
if your spouse is making money. So we actually have a
runway calculator,
which is amazing.
Yes.
Because every time we show this to somebody, they're loving it, because what you can do is you can put in your income, you can put in your spouse's income, you can put in your monthly expenses, you can put in your savings.
And your business income if it's making
And your business income. And then what you can start doing is playing with the numbers. So you can say, if I left my job on this date, how long is my runway? If my business were to make this much more, how long is my runway? Mm-hmm. If I was to increase my savings, how long is my runway? So what it does, rather than just like being like, oh, I'm going to leave my job and like hope it works, you can say, I know that if I get to this point, I'll have 1 year to let my business make an additional $5,000 a month. So now you have very clear targets and very clear understanding of what your business then needs to do and when you should leave that job.
Mm-hmm.
And this is talking about being smart.
Yes.
Not just taking a risk or, throwing caution to the wind, but actually reducing the risk that comes with it and letting you really have good information to make decisions with.
Yeah, and it's also something that you can talk to your spouse about. And instead of just walking up to them one day and being like, I want to leave my job and we'll just have to figure it out, you instead can say, hey, I'm really unhappy with what I'm doing and I really would like to try to build up my business so that I can be my own boss and have the freedom that we want for our family. and I've run the numbers through this runway calculator to see, what that would actually look like for us and if it's possible. So now you're going to the table with a lot more logic and practicality to ask your spouse what their opinion is on you leaving your job, rather than just like doing it without talking to them or just telling them like, hey, I want to quit my job. What do you think? Now that conversation is going to be much more productive for both of you.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I know when I was trying to convince you of this years ago, and it's funny because we actually talk about this in the book and how I just kept coming back to you and trying to explain like how this would work. And, it was finally one of the times where there were some numbers involved, but it was less about the numbers and more about us getting aligned on what we wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we were always pushing to talk to your spouse, figure out what kind of life you want. And then, like, for example, using the life planner that we have to help get aligned, not only on what you want, but when the right timing for that is. Because, for example, if you were to say work your job for an additional 2 years, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, that is nothing. I don't care what age you are, but if you're only working 2 more years to then give yourself the freedom beyond that, but allowing you to get more savings, build your business up, that can completely change the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
But on the flip side, if you try to leave too soon and you don't have the runway and you haven't proven out that your business can make sales and you know how you're going to grow it with the additional time you get from leaving a job, that could also change your life, but not in the positive way.
Not in a good way.
So some milestones to look at as you go to leave your job. First off, you want to have a validated business model.
Mm-hmm.
And what this means is that you figured out who you're going to be serving or helping, who's going to be buying from you. You figured out what solution you can offer them. You've been able to figure out what they're going to pay and make sure that all the numbers work so that you're making enough profit on each product. And ultimately, you've been able to then prove that you can consistently start making sales. So like in the quote unquote ideal world, you wouldn't leave a job until your business is covering all of your expenses, because then you can leave and you're good. You may leave before that, but what you want to make sure is that if you leave before that, one, you have enough savings or your spouse's income to cover the gap. And then two, you ultimately know what you're going to do with the additional time that you get so that you can make smart use of that. Because there's been a lot of people that actually, when they have more time,
Mm-hmm.
they actually do less than when it's crunched and they're very focused. Yep.
Yeah. So there's a couple episodes that might be helpful for you to go back and listen to that are related to this topic. One is leaving your job to become a full-time entrepreneur, which is show 3,
that would
TomandAriana.com/3, where we talk about, some of the financial stuff. We talk about some of the mental and emotional pieces of leaving your job, some of the time management, and kind of what our experience was. And then the biggest part of the runway is that you'll need to know your freedom number, which is in episode 9, how to find your freedom number or finding your freedom number. So TomandAriana.com/9. That one talks about some of the things that you may be missing or not thinking about when you're trying to figure out how much you would need to replace your income from your job. So that will help you kind of work through those numbers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, love it.
A lot of good stuff. All right. So actions for today.
Okay. So we just got done talking about the runway, and I actually want you to spend some time thinking about your runway. And so just a quick rehash on that. So basically what you're looking at is, if you were to leave your job today, how long would you be able to function until you ran out of money? Or said another way, how long would you have to get your business to the point where it's covering your expenses before you ran out of money? So spend some time figuring that out, and then use that to make a smart decision on when you're going to target to leave your job, and then also what you need to do business-wise before that date.
Mm-hmm. And my action is, if you are one of those people who's thinking about leaving their job, I want you to share your quit date with us. I want you to have some public accountability to say, I'm planning on quitting by this date, and I'm going to get my business to the point it needs to be by that time. So post up either on the comments below on the show notes page, or come over to our Facebook page and post up that quit date and say, I listened to show 122 and this is my quit date.
I love that. And one thing I realized when I set my quit date to be like 14 years out, what I realized was that it took almost 14 years to make that happen. But when I look back, I realized that those first handful of years, sure, I was starting the business, but I wasn't really taking it serious.
Mm-hmm.
I'm totally convinced that if I cut that time in half, I would have made that happen in half the time as well.
Yep.
So it's not saying that like you're going to make it happen in like 1 year. Some people do, but usually you want to pick a time frame that is a couple years out.
Not too comfortable, not too uncomfortable.
Yep.
Find somewhere in the middle.
Absolutely. All right. So with that, if you're looking to quit your job, if you're either building your business and it's not quite there yet, or if you're looking to launch a new product or service to help you get there, then I would highly encourage you guys to come and join the Lifestyle Builders Incubator. And basically the whole point of this incubator is to help you take a product or service and go through all the steps to ultimately validate it and start selling it so you can make money. And what we found with a lot of people is that they might have been churning for a while trying to get something new out there.
Mm-hmm.
And by going through this, which has training, which has coaching calls with us, which has a supportive community, they find that something that maybe has been on the shelf for a couple of years and they've been really wanting to do, they're then able to do with the guidance and accountability.
Mm-hmm.
So if you guys are interested in learning more about the incubator or coming and joining us and letting us help you build your business so you can leave your job, you can find that at joinlifestylebuilders.com.
And of course, a good thing to read that's, kind of helping you with this topic might be the Lifestyle Builders book. Quit your job, replace your income, build your business, live your ideal life. So that is going to be coming out very soon. I think like a couple weeks from this episode,
couple
actually.
Weeks out, the ebook will be out.
So you can go to tomandariana.com/book to get on the list and find out exactly when it is available for you to get in your hands and read.
So should I call you out that you messed up the subtitle of our book?
Because we had it different when we first started writing it, and I always get confused as to what the actual subtitle is. And then wait a minute, which one is it? There's three.
At least you got them all.
I got them all.
Not
I
in the
just
right
don't
order.
remember which one is the right one.
I'll let it slide, I guess.
You already called me out. All right. It has been another great episode with Tom and Ariana, your hosts and lifestyle builders.
And as always, we want you guys to remember that it's your life, your business, your way. We'll see you next time.
Bye. Hey, we hope you enjoyed this episode. If you know another entrepreneur who may benefit from hearing this show, we would so appreciate you being a good friend and sharing it with them. Are you dreaming of a life of financial freedom and more time to spend with your loved ones? Want to build your business to support that dream? You need Lifestyle Builders, a mentorship program designed to meet you where you are and give you strategic and custom guidance so you can build the business you need for the life you crave. Become a lifestyle builder at joinlifestylebuilders.com. Are you a Lifestyle Builders podcast fan? We'd love to hear from you. Head on over to tomandariana.com/iTunes and leave us a review.